down to Florida State College or JU or somewhere. Well, what about how are we getting that information to the people within the community?
That's exactly right. And what incentives are you providing for those in the community to be an entrepreneur?
Right.
Because we know the city of Jacksonville now, you've talked about several programs that they offer that can assist. Can you share a few of those programs? You talked about a few grants and that the city currently offers to service entrepreneurship in these communities, as well as you got Amazon here, you got Volkswagen.
Is it okay if I can segue into
that? Please.
All right. Have you ever heard of JSEP?
Well, yes. But elaborate more on that for the listeners.
JSEP stands for Jacksonville Small Emerging Businesses. I'm going to repeat that. Jacksonville Small Emerging Businesses. So what happens is, say you got a prime contractor that wants a $10 million contract and they meet all of the criteria for that $10 million contract. However, 10% of that contract needs to be provided for a JSEP business, a Jacksonville Small Emerging Business. How do you become a small emerging businesses? If you're African American and you meet and you have the standards and you've been educated. See, my problem is that our problem is that our people are not properly educated on the criteria for these proposals. So once we've mastered the language of the proposals, then we can master the projects. And then we go from subprime to prime. But with that prime contract, that's a $10 million, $1 million goes to a JSEP business. I want you to win it. I want that money to stay right here in Duval. I want that money to stay right here feeding local businesses, feeding local families to make sure that we're giving our people a fighting chance at success. When we look at major developers, one of the things that I do is that I want to make sure that if you're coming in District 7, I want to give first dibs and first opportunities to those who do that service or provide that service in this city. You want a major contracting job? Do you live in Jacksonville?
That's right.
And I'm going to tell you a true story. I was talking to a young lady at the Cookbook restaurant. That's a shameless plug. They got where the food is hot and the music is good. And Brother Blunt, I think he'll confirm that. But
great atmosphere.
But I want to put this out there because I was looking at a young lady who was on crutches. I said, "What happened?" She said, "I got hurt in your district." I said, "What do you mean you got hurt in my district?" Because they know I'm running for City Council District 7.
Right.
She said, "Well, Nix, I want you to know, I was hit by a construction truck, and the construction truck had a driver who wasn't even insured. They had a driver who didn't even have a driver's license because the company was out of town."
See?
I'm fighting for local developers, local contractors. If you meet that SBA, if you meet that S8, if you meet that JSEP, listen, we don't have time for people who aren't playing by the rules. I need to make sure that we're properly educated to be able to bid on these city and government contracts. And then don't get me started on co-ops, which are community owned and operated businesses. And don't get me started on opportunity zones, meaning that there are certain zones in District 10, District 7, District 9, and District 8, which provide everyone an opportunity or a tax incentive to start businesses in what you will call low-performing communities.
Yes, I agree with that, Mr. Nix. Also, the block grants. Those are grants that there needs to be better awareness of it to galvanize the people in order to go out and submit for those grants. One guy I was talking to, he has a lawn business. He has about 4 lawnmowers, riding lawnmowers, and one of the ideas I wanted to come up with is that if the city cannot properly meet taking care of the private property, especially on the road, excuse me, not private property, but public property on the roads, why not subcontract to local lawnmower services? I mean, why can't they subcontract to them? The only thing I could tell them, I said, well, you need to be ready. get licensed, get certified, have your business ready. So
Exactly.
when it comes, that you're ready to go. Because
Exactly.
one thing we don't need is a bunch of excuses about, well, there are no local businesses. There's no one to handle these
Right.
things that we have out there. Yeah.
Right. Well, we hear that, and I applaud that effort because that's the 21st century leadership for our children.
Mm-hmm.
As an entrepreneur myself, I've discovered those discrepancies in the language, as Mr. Nick spoke about, in the RFPs that are issued for bids on certain business, service, or products. And when we start there with the city and those responsible for the bids, I believe that goes a long way in educating our constituent base on how to effectively not just apply, but win the
Yes.
contracts and actually be
Yes.
awarded the contracts. Number two, that Mr. Nix mentioned, which I applaud both of you for this effort, is that $10 million contract. That's an annual contract. You have a prime vendor and you have sub. We've often, entrepreneurs are often sub tiers on a prime contract that large. Have you thought about collaborating with other 5, 6, 7 small local businesses in Jacksonville that can split that pie up, and you come to the table with, we want to go for the whole pie, the entire contract? We've had that experience, and the key is educating the customer, the client, on this is what we provide as a value add collectively, individually, yet collectively, as entrepreneurs here in District 7, 8, 9, and 10, to service your Amazons, your Volkswagens, and any other large corporation coming to this area. That way, I believe we'll be able to sustain